So when you do that, I think that people will appreciate and notice it later on. Even if they don't know how much work you're doing, they can see your quality and stuff, skill level, and that's how you get the phone call. It's just been phone calls. And
what's up, everybody? It's Keef, Keyz, and I'm back with another episode of Behind the Mix. And on today, who I have with me is a talented brother. He is a great musician. He has played for multiple people, but what really makes him stand out that is he's very knowledgeable. He's very humble. He's very I don't even know what the word you're gonna call it. He's very helpful to the community. He stands out in a lot of arenas by how he carries himself. A lot of people know him. I would like to introduce you to my friend, my brother, none other than the Austin Woodlin. What's up, bro? How you feeling?
Keith, KC, good to see you.
What's up?
I'm good.
I'm glad that you could
that.
be on this interview with me. I really wanted to interview you. Like I said in the intro, you are someone, especially to the Philadelphia area, that we kind of look up to in the musician world. And so before we start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself that some people may not know about you?
Well, I am from Philadelphia, born and raised here, and I started music very young, and so that's been a large part of our journey in life, musically, and I believe music carries over into other areas, parts of your life, the things you learn from being a musician, from disciplining yourself to learn how to do something that you don't naturally do, all those kinds of things. I started out young. One thing you might not know is that I actually was gearing my life towards engineering, though, while doing all this work. I was looking to being an engineer, electrical engineer. I had a knack for certain things like electronics and so on and so forth. But that actually changed in college. So, but what I do and am graced to do now is a lot of production mainly. And so from all of that past of engineering study and pursuing that career, after the switch, which we can go into later, I'm now a full-time musician. I'm listening music at Pentecostal Bridegroom Temple in Germantown. Music director, Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Cheltenham. Producer, music director for Zach Williams and One Accord. Have worked with a few other choirs as well. And just doing production. I teach as well part-time, private lessons. And I'm a husband and a father of two.
So real quick, so let's talk about this. How did you actually get into music? What was the start of music? You mentioned engineering.
Okay.
So engineering had your interest. How did music actually captivate you, especially to the point now that you're doing music full-time and not engineering?
Yeah, and that was a good fun fact that I can really define later on if you like. But music has always been my passion. It's something that I wanted to really pursue in my heart of hearts. And so getting into that was just one thing that really probably connected me to that. And that's what the thing we all know. And I'm sure it wouldn't be a surprise to anyone that hears this answer. It's church. I'm a church boy. Church baby, choir baby, all those things. Grew up in church. And so here's a funny story, I guess, is my favorite instrument right now is Hammond organ. And not just right now, it is. And so that was one of the first instruments I learned to play alongside piano, keyboard. So church was my exposure to music. It was my experience in music. And that's really what I came up hearing and wanting to do. Now, I began, according to my parents, wanting to play drums. I don't come from a musical family. I don't have a whole bunch of people that taught me, helped me, showed me stuff. My parents do not play anything. They sing in the choir. They still sing in my choir, my church choir, which is kind of funny. But yeah, the closest thing, my dad played a little drums. I mean, boom tap, like nothing really. I don't have any professional musicians in my family. And so my older brother is a great drummer, actually. And he started playing drums. He's 3 years older than me. So the story goes, I wanted to play drums like him. So I started doing that, and they said, no, you can't do the same thing. So they got me a keyboard. Somehow I fell in love with it, became really interested. And I think I just worked at it until something happened. And somehow my ears connected to my brain and my hands, and it went from there. And that's something I always wanted to do. Learned a few other instruments along the way. And so that's how I got my start. I was about to say something else, but
so let's jump from there. So you explained to us how you kind of got your foot in the door inside the musical realm and started to dibble and dabble with the Hammond, the piano, and then other instruments later on. So how did that beginning interest of music actually take you from that point of just learning to where you are now, and how were you able to work with the people who you have worked with and been at the churches that you actually play for, and be around the people who you're actually around musically? How did you actually take that interest of music and actually turning it into your profession and what you actually do?
It definitely takes spending time with your craft first. This is a story I was going to tell you. Coming up at the church I grew up at, my mom was a little bit of everything. She ushered, she was working in the kitchen, she did a lot at the church. And so my dad is a deacon as well. And so we were there, we were active. And so after Sunday morning services, usually I'm waiting for my mom. She's talking to everybody, she's cooking in the kitchen, she's just having conversations. And I got 3 brothers, so we would just be trying to find something to do. And so I might be 6, 7 years old, something like that. The minister of music at the church I grew up at became a mentor to me. And so he actually showed me how to turn the organ on at the church, and began showing me just a couple basic scales. But after that, the key thing that he said was, you can come up here anytime you want. So my mom, even though she doesn't play anything, helped me learn how to play.
Wow.
She didn't play a lick. But just her sitting around talking and stuff.
Wow.
I could get up there, and I would sit up there until she was waiting for me.
Yeah.
So I took all of that time, all those opportunities to really just figure out a lot of things that I was hearing, to learn the instrument, and really kind of dig into some of the things that I, in my head, wanted to get out with my fingers. So that really helped. And it's just spending time with your instrument. I don't care if nobody sees what you're doing, if nobody's heard you, if nobody thinks you can play, but they know you play. What you do, this is my lab. What you do in your private space means everything. I was in school, went to a private middle school, private school for elementary, middle school, most of my life, pre-K, all of that. And so they had a choir, and I actually became the musician for that choir. And so I can probably say it started between that and between my mentor's community choir in New Jersey. Very, very young, I started playing for those things, and I gained a sense of responsibility. I had to learn these songs. I had to figure out, what to wear, what to do. How do I talk to the drummer that, about this song? When are we going to go over this? Because I'm not sure about this part, or we're not together. Those things like that. How do I change the key of this song? Because they want to change it, but I learned it here. All that stuff came from this choir. My mentor had a choir in Jersey. My dad sang for it, and we would go up there every Monday. And so that got my foot in the door while I was also working on music for the choir at school. So that simultaneously not only piqued my interest, but allowed me to gain a lot of great experience. I was able to, over time, play for graduations. We had assemblies that we did. We had to sing the school song, we had to sing the Black National Anthem. Those are things I had to play over and over and over and over. And so certain things I had to learn just from doing that. And I pretty much can say that that's where it started. But I wasn't concerned about being seen or being heard. I just like to play. And what I did at home even exceeded that. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, I was getting my start with those things. But almost every day after school, I would just play with a CD, with a record, or with nothing, just to shed for at least 2 hours after school, just at home, with nobody. And it's just one of them things like you gotta want it, you know. And so I would be the music nerd sometimes, you know. Somebody knock on the door, yo, my nigga name's Buddy. You know, like, can you come outside? No, man, I'm working on this song. Can't come outside right now. That was me. And that's I think that's what it takes. If you want to be good at something, you have to spend time with it. And God knows what you're doing. And over time, if you gain the skills that somebody needs, and if you continue to be in the right place at the right time, people will see you and you will get the phone call. I have not asked for any position that I hold. There's a lot of musicians, especially for churches and stuff. Hey, you know anybody looking? You know, I fortunately have never had to do that because most of all, it's just being in the right place at the right time, but just being willing to be open to what God wants for your life. And I'm just working on what I need to do for me. This is what I know I need to do. So when you do that, I think that people will appreciate and notice it later on. Even if they don't know how much work you're doing, they can see your quality and stuff, skill level, and that's how you get the phone call. It's just been phone calls. And I know I need to do nothing but the great. I'm usually trying to do that, whether it takes.
Wow. And you're saying a lot. You're saying a lot of good stuff that I want to briefly touch on. And you're saying that like a lot of, and you're speaking in other words, if I can kind of like translate this, like almost as like an athlete would practice so much off the court or off the field that when they actually step in the platform that they're in, that they just exceed and excel at whatever they practice at. And it's not necessarily, and sometimes it could just be the fundamental things. But in that moment, the practice, the time you spent developing your gift and your craft actually sticks out. And I think what you're saying is actually true because you carry yourself differently than a lot of musicians. Like you said, fortunately, you haven't had to been the one to kind of promote yourself in a sense. And I think that goes a long way with how you carry yourself and the character that you have as well. And what you said was that, you know, to just be humble and to actually focus on the actual gift, but not necessarily trying to be seen. I think that is a big thing in the in the music world, period, in the music community, period. I think a lot of times we got to the point to where we started to smell ourselves and we started, oh, I can do this. Or somebody may want this, so let me put myself out there. But exactly what you're saying is what actually got you to that point was all the time that you spent not being seen, but the time that you spent actually developing your craft. What you said was funny. The first, one of the first times I met you, I remember it was at this church down in New Jersey, and I was playing for an artist, and I was like, you know what? I practiced all the songs in the original keys, and I'm like, and I knew them. I said I knew them, but when I got there, something was just like, nah, transpose. And I remember you was on the keyboard before me, And I got on there and I said, yo, bro, before you get out, I said, where's the transpose button on this thing? And you looked at me dead in my face and you were like, this is the last time I'm gonna show you this. You know, so it's definitely a testament. That was way back when. I mean, but from that very conversation, like I literally tell myself now, like I remember your face, like, hey yo, you better not push that button. You know, but let's talk about this real quick. So, speaking along the lines of character and stuff, like, you know, being a musician, we sometimes have a persona displayed or a certain type of outlook displayed on that. How do you, especially in groups of musicians, you know, when you see a whole bunch of musicians, you can assume that all musicians act, you know, the same way. We all know kind of that kind of motto and those terms that they use, that people would use to describe musicians. How do you actually carry yourself? How are you actually, because you do stand out amongst a lot of musicians by the way how you carry yourself. And sometimes a lot of people, when we know that Austin is in the mix, we're like, okay, that's cool. All right, we're good. You know what I mean? No lie. A lot of people actually do think that. So how do you actually carry yourself being a musician, knowing that some people may look at musicians a certain way? So how do you carry yourself as a musician? And how have you been able to sustain, you know, your character the way how you have?
I believe I think it just comes down to my values. Whether or not other musicians are doing the same thing I'm doing, there's certain things I believe should happen. There's certain things, ways I believe one should act. And so I wouldn't have even noticed this stuff unless people said it to me.
Right.
Oh, you're different. Oh, whatever. Oh, okay. Thanks. I didn't even know.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking, because like I'm just being what I know. You know, what I know is coming up. I mean, so let's talk about church, because there's different arenas, and primarily I'm a gospel musician, but I don't only do gospel, but primarily I do gospel. So in terms of that, it really, I believe, starts with a relationship with God. You're gonna take that seriously. We can't work in the house of the Lord and not know the Lord, not know the person that lives there. That doesn't make any sense. And I wouldn't want you to walk in here in my house and not talk to me. It would be weird. It's just the same thing. I just think one thing, for one, we gotta have a relationship. That relationship will kind of guide some of your decisions, some of your words, some of your actions. And so I believe that we should always carry ourselves with integrity. If I say I'm going to do something, I make sure that I do it. If I cannot do something, I communicate. Just those little things like that, that I guess make me stand out, or maybe everyone's not doing. I still don't know exactly what it is, but I know what I know and believe. Does that make sense? So I just continue to do those things that I know and believe, and that I was brought up to do, which I still use today. And thank God for Professor B.J. Shores allowed me to actually get into that, show me a couple of things. I was smooth sailing from there. Once I got that, I played for B.J. Shores for a few years, his group. And that was probably the first group during my college years is when I started doing more community or local artists. So that was the first group that I played for while I was in school, outside of church. And that started during my college years. So I played for him, then I started doing production with him. And so that taught me a lot and opened up a few other doors. Once I became familiar and comfortable with the software, I did start doing instrumentals while doing instrumentals, and that's just out of a need, because once I was a little bit more exposed from playing with BJ, from playing in different churches, going around with pastors, and I might have a track with me, or people hear a couple tracks that I've done. People ask for instrumentals a lot. Like, do y'all not have musicians? So okay, I think there's a need for instrumentals, so I think I can help with that need. Mm-hmm. So wanted to do that, create the instrumental website, and put a few instrumentals up. That's where that started. Mm-hmm. Not long after that, just started getting a lot of work from local artists, friends that needed tracks. Hey, I need a performance track for this engagement. Hey, I wrote a song. Can you help me with this? Sure. Hey, I got 2 songs that I need to redo because I did it back then and I don't like it. So can you redo it? Okay. And it just little by little, it got better, and I kept working. And then, bam, I finally got a full project. First full project was my sister, Cherry Champion. She's still on iTunes. She has an EP out. And we never finished the full record, unfortunately. I still have all the songs. But we put the EP out, and that was my first official EP with all my production work. And then some more work came from people, other artists from like my church organization and different things. Enon came as well. As I started playing there, they started doing music, putting out records. From Enon, I met my partner at the studio, who we do pop music and R&B, and we do licensing for TV and film. So we have a few placements on TV. So it just starts from maybe one little thing, and if you really, I think if you carry all those things we were talking about earlier and put your best foot forward, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And so now, from BJ, Enon, Zach Williams called me to do his record a while back, and I just ended up as his MD for his choir, because I've actually been listening to one accord music for like all my life, because I have a deep love for choir music. Big Hezekiah Walker fan, because that's what I would be playing while I was shitting. Yeah. Those Hezzy records, those James Hall records, those Ricky Dillard records. I'm talking about the old stuff. Yeah. Wilmington Chester, Russell Delegation, the old Excelsior records, and all the stuff nobody knows about. choir music. So just from exposure through different records, through different works, being small or big, or no matter how small, really. Someone hears it, you never know who's going to hear or see what you're doing. So do everything at 100%. Even if you think it's not worth it, even if you think, you said yes. So even if you think no one's going to hear it, no one's going to see it, no one's going to be at this event, you said yes. That means give it 100%.
Basically what you're saying is that you've pretty much attained a lot of your success from just putting your best foot forward, giving everything all you got, and just doing your due diligence. So what would be like the number one piece of advice? Because you dropped a lot. So what's the number one piece of advice that you would give, say, a musician who wants to grow? Sometimes I feel like as a musician, I feel like a deep desire at some point you want to have your own or do your own something, you know, not just be playing for everyone and no one not understand what you actually have in you singly musically, you know. So how do you actually, what's the number one piece of advice you can give a musician who wants to be a music producer, or just work with more artists, or just to play with more artists, or to play at that one church that they were really hoping to play for? What's the number one piece of advice that you can give them to actually take them to that lane of success that they actually want to get to?
Being connected to people is really everything. I'm sure people have said and heard this before, that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I would say it's both. It's absolutely both. You need to know what you're doing. But you also need to know some people that know how to do what you're doing even better than you do. I think copy off of somebody. And this is a piece of advice that I would give. I don't know if it's number one, but there's a lot. But I think it's very important to have examples. Get something that you like and copy it. We're all copying each other anyway.
Facts.
I didn't make up the scales.
Facts.
I didn't make up the chord progressions. I didn't make up anything that I have written.
And if I heard you do the chord progression, that's mine, man. Yeah.
That's right. Because I got it from Keef. And then I'll play it. Then you'll play it. Then you say you got it from me. Okay.
Right.
But we all copy. You listen to a record. You know, there's a nice lick, and you copy it. You listen to a sound, a mix, or a production style, and you copy it. You learn from people. And so, if you see something that you like, you're somebody just doing what you want to do, learn from them, copy them. We make it harder by trying to do it by ourselves. Find someone that you can connect to, even if you can't talk to them. Just look what they're doing. Yeah. Like Melvin Crispell was someone I copied all the time. I never met this guy, but I just loved what he did. I loved what he did. And so that's somebody I really copied. And then, crazy enough, I got to play with him for 2 years at the PAW convention.
Wow.
We were in the same band. And so that was amazing. But you know, when you want to do something, there's somebody that's done what you want to do. No matter how original you think it is, you might have some part of it that no one's done. But there's a part as well, always, that has been done or thought about before. So if we find some mentors, some good examples, and some guidance, we can avoid a lot of mistakes, and we can be led in the right direction to where we need to be. And if you actually get to connect with people and have, again, a good character about yourself, these people can actually open doors. And so that's part of it. But I would always just advise people to pray about what God wants you to do. I would say full-time music is not for every musician. Touring, whatever, is not for every musician. There's a certain type of work that's geared for who you are as a person. Your personality, your pattern of thought, all those things that you're just born with.
So let's talk about that real quick before we keep going. What is it like being a full-time musician? Because a lot of people want to be full-time musicians because they're thinking of the benefits or the creativity side of it, but I don't think they understand the practicality that lifestyle as well brings. So what is it like being a full-time musician?
So you have regular jobs that are 9 to 5s. Then you have this thing that I call 24/7. You go work and leave work, you know, at a regular job, but this thing never stops. We're here at 11:30 at night, and this is regular time, regular hours for me.
Regular hours.
Sometimes there's no other time to get work done. Of being a full-time musician, it depends on how you organize your time, but you're basically self-employed. You're an entrepreneur. You handle your own business. You're your own boss. So organization is really everything. And this is where a lot of problems come up with double booking, with forgetting, not keeping your word, all of those things. Because keeping your word as a musician is very important. And if you're going to say yes to something, you have to be able to give it your all and able to do it and be there and show up and actually want to do it. You smile and have a good attitude. And so it takes commitment. It takes being able to put up with challenges, financial challenges sometimes. Time when it's busy, time, what's the word?
What, time management?
Time management, thank you. Time management, all of that is very, very important. So you have to know how to handle your own finances, how to manage your own schedule, how to, you know, talk to people and answer your phone. And so all of that is, I'm just talking in general. As a full-time musician, your hours are your own, and it really does become like your whole entire day. If you get a lot of work, if you become the in-demand or whatever, you can spend all week, like all day, all week doing something. So for me, literally I work for 2 churches, produce, teach lessons, right? And I didn't even mention the family part, because I'm talking to musicians in general, maybe family or not.
Right.
When you have a family,
and you have your own personal life as well.
then it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you how it is for me now, because that was just the general thing. But my daytime is pretty much divided between teaching and family. Church and everything. I don't have any evenings really. My evenings are shot because those are dedicated to rehearsals, sometimes studio sessions, but rehearsals in advance if it's the weekend. Because I play all weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Weekends are the work hours. Everybody's off on the weekend. Everybody wants music on the weekend. Everybody's in church on the weekend. So, our more flexible days are during the week. It's kind of the opposite of a normal person. But with family, I think that is the number one thing. That's always a priority. And so spending time with them and just making sure that not just that they have everything they need, but just that we have a family bond and activities and things. That's very important. And so that's most of my day is teaching, because that helps us financially, and then time with family, evenings, church, and when I do music, it's overnight. If I need to do a song or a production or something, it's late or early, really early or really late. That's my time. And so that's how it's working for me right now. But every day is really the same thing. Not every day, let me be clear. Every day of the week is a different schedule, but that same day when it comes back around is the same. So every week, you put that, every week is the same. And that's just a little something that is called routine, that some people may not see the advantage of, the benefit of, but being organized enough to have a routine as a full-time musician, as an entrepreneur, will keep your mind sane and will allow everyone else, when you have a family, to know what's going on. When are we doing this? When are we doing that? How are you doing this? How are we paying for that? When are we going here? It's a routine. No questions. We can agree to something and do it. And so that really saves a lot of headaches, saves a lot of time. So for me, that's only a little bit of how.
I don't think a lot of people realize, once you start doing it, you work for yourself. You're your own boss. You're your own HR manager. You're your own janitor.
That's right.
You're everything. You're the cashier. You're everything. So time management is very important. Organization, it's super important. Getting paid is super important. Telling yourself when to stop.
Right.
Is important as well. Because some people just think, I'm gonna grind all night.
Have a rest day.
I'm gonna stay up all night.
Have a rest day. One day out of the week.
Yeah.
That's what the Bible says.
God's motto don't fade. Listen.
Yeah.
So man, that's some good info, because I really feel like a lot of people can benefit from that, because a lot of people want to do that and they want to take it on, but they don't understand necessarily the responsibility that comes along with that lifestyle as well. So cool. So what are some things in the future that people can expect from Austin Woodlin? What's some things you got up your sleeve?
Awesome. I do plan to release some music in the next few years. some instrumental music. You won't really catch me singing. I'll sing at church, but that's it. Not on the record. So you can look forward to that. I'm also getting ready, or actually now preparing an online instructional course. For
I'll be a student. I'll sign up for that.
For musicians from beginner to advanced, piano and organ. And just start off with that. I do also teach bass guitar and drums and a little bit of saxophone, but we just do keys. You can look forward to that, and lots of new records from my choirs. My choir, Fresh Anointing, just got nominated for a Stellar Award. We're going to be coming out with some new music, which I'll be writing for them. So lots of cool things happening.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, once again, I want to say thank you for allowing me to come to your land to sit down and talk with you about these things. If somebody wanted to find you, where would they go to actually find you?
Everything is under, well, my Facebook is under my name, Austin Woodlin. That's Woodlin with WOODLIN. And my Instagram is adominant9.
That's your favorite chord.
That's not my favorite chord, but it's a cool chord. Though.
I used to ask that. Out of all the chords, he could have chose.
You want to know the answer?
A dominant. Yeah.
My name starts with A, and all the majors and minors and stuff are taken, so I had to go to dominant 9, which is better than dominant 7, so I had to go with dominant 9.
And once again, y'all, I'm gonna make sure I put all the links to where you can find Austin at down below in the description of the video. You got any last words?
One more thing, I guess SoundCloud is AMW Music is my production label, so you can check out some of my tracks on SoundCloud.com. Finally, please remember, keep God first in everything you do. It doesn't even have to be church or gospel, because he can bless you anywhere as long as he's called you to be in that spot. So for me, I'm in the spot where I believe God's called me to be, and everyone isn't supposed to be in the same position. If we were all doing the same thing, there would be no need for all of us. God doesn't make duplicates. It could just be one person doing that. We're all assigned to where we need to be. Pray about where you need to be, and just let God do the rest. Keep working at what you need to improve on, and keep God first in everything.
Wow, man, I really appreciate you. And for everybody else, please like the video, share the video, subscribe if you really liked it, and I'll see y'all in another video coming up. Bye.